From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, I'm Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Thursday, May 11th. The warmest day of the week, possibly even of the year, is on the way for today. We'll see some cloud cover and humidity increase throughout the day ahead of our next chance for rain, which moves in later tonight into Friday morning. And today, a milestone moment. 3.5 years in the making. The national public health emergency for COVID-19 is ending. The first declaration came in January of 2022, just as the virus was arriving in America. Since then, the Trump and Biden administrations extended it 13 times, giving the government wide-ranging flexibility in fighting the pandemic, allowing support programs and policies to go through quickly. The World Health Organization announced last week it no longer considers the virus a global public health emergency. And Title 42 is one of the policies ending today because of the expiration of the health emergency. The measure has kept most migrants south of the border instead of in America as their cases move forward. Border communities are now bracing for a crush of new people. The government is sending in nearly 1,000 new troops to help handle the influx, joining forces already there. Title 42 has affected some 2.8 million migrants since March of 2020. Under new measures, the Biden administration says migrants must first apply online or seek asylum in a country they pass through, or they will immediately be denied. U.S. officials say there's also a plan to open 100 regional migration hubs along the Western Hemisphere and have increased deportation flights. Officials say families will still have the opportunity to claim asylum and go through the process if they qualify. The administration says families who do cross the border will face curfews and monitoring. The heads of households will wear a GPS ankle monitor until their case is heard within 30 days. Former President Donald Trump seizes his biggest stage so far in his attempt to return to the White House. On the week, a jury found Trump liable for sexual assault. CNN hosted him for a town hall meeting. The conversation included questions about the trial on rape claims that ended with a $5 million judgment against him. Trump claimed again last night he never met his accuser. Trump took questions about and often returned the conversation to the 2020 election. He also said this when asked about people convicted of crimes connected to the Capitol riots.
I am inclined to pardon many of them. I can't say for every single one because a couple of them probably they got out of control.
The conversation, contentious at times, also touched on abortion, Ukraine, and classified documents. Representative George Santos has pleaded not guilty to federal charges that say he duped donors, stole from his own campaign, lied to Congress, and collected unemployment benefits illegally. The arrest, arraignment, and release on $500,000 bail all happened in one day in New York. Many Democrats and some fellow Republicans are calling on Santos to resign from the House. He says he will not step down.
This is the beginning of the ability for me to address and defend myself. We have an indictment. We have the information that the government wants to come after me on, and I'm going to comply. I've been complying throughout this entire process. I have no desire not to comply at this point. They've been gracious in there. Now I'm going to have to go and fight to defend myself. The reality is it's a witch hunt.
Santos says he will continue his bid for re-election. He could face up to 50 years in prison if he's convicted. City leaders have new ideas to consider here in Indianapolis to curb problems at houses rented through sites like Airbnb and VRBO. A group called the Coalition to Address Short-Term Rentals gave the City County Council a list of proposals. One would require property owners to register with the city and get a business license from the state. Another calls for renters to be at least 21 years old. The group wants to ban large parties and food trucks and require a minimum of a 2-night stay.
Most of those ideas are also coming from other cities that have successfully done this. And so, when we look to Nashville, when we look to Chicago and some other places who have found ways to put in some common sense provisions.
The suggestions are spurred by several recent incidents of violence at short-term rentals, often in parties that get out of hand. Counselors will now decide whether to turn the suggestions into a possible ordinance. Indianapolis leaders say taxpayers will not pay for a multi-million-dollar conference hotel on Pan Am Plaza. The city plans to borrow $625 million to pay for the project. City County Council President Bill Oesterle says that the city can borrow at a lower cost and at a lower interest rate than a private developer. The money would fund the construction of a 4-star, 800-room hotel. It would then be the tallest building in Indianapolis. Oesterle says that capacity and service will help Indianapolis compete with other cities for conventions. He says since the city would borrow the money, it will not cost taxpayers a thing.
If the project falls apart, would city taxpayers be on the hook for that?
We believe very strongly that we are not going to get to that point. I mean, obviously, we have that as a concern of some sort. We would be unwise not to, but we wouldn't be going into this if there was that level of concern. We just would not be.
Oesterle says he expects hearings will begin on the bond proposal as early as this coming Monday. Many are honoring a titan of Indiana business and politics. Bill Oesterle's family confirms he has died at only 57 years old from ALS. Oesterle's legacy includes leading the successful run for governor of Mitch Daniels and the co-founding of Angie's List, leading it to tremendous success in his time at the helm. He later led the business community's successful fight against the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Daniels reacted to the news saying, "I'm not often at a loss for words, but trying to imagine a world without Bill Oesterle leaves me that way." Governor Eric Holcomb also released a statement saying Bill's passion for improvement and inclusion helped spark transformational growth and development over decades, and that will in turn inspire others to do so in the decades to come. The Marion County Sheriff's Office is remembering a deputy killed in a deadly dog attack. 46-year-old Tamika White died Tuesday night after she was attacked by a dog. Her son was also injured. The Sheriff's Department says White had been a deputy since 2007 and worked with the Judicial Enforcement Division. The Sheriff's Department says it's grateful for White's service. Officers say they're now working to determine her relationship with the dog. From iTeam 8, a White County Sheriff's deputy is suspended for driving past a school bus while the bus stop arm was out. Exclusive video provided to iTeam 8 shows the moment it happened. We have that for you on wishtv.com. Just look for the story. You'll find it. The sheriff says a sergeant was following the bus to watch for stop arm violations and saw it happen. The sheriff is not yet releasing the name of the suspended deputy. A key question from iTeam 8, why did the deputy do it?
He said he's seen the school bus, obviously, so I don't know what he was thinking.
That was Whiteland Sheriff Bill Brooks talking there. A special prosecutor is now considering charges for the deputy. iTeam 8 expects a decision to come down by Friday. The deputy could get a 90-day suspension of his license and a $10,000 fine. And during this Teacher Appreciation Week, the National Education Association says teachers are doing more than ever before, and we do not have enough of them. NEA President Becky Pringle taught science for more than 30 years. She says she's proud of the teachers working in the classroom today, and she'll do all she can to get them more. According to her survey, there are 3 major reasons that more than 55% of teachers are ready to quit. The biggest issue is lack of pay. Teachers make about 25% less than other professionals with the same education and experience. Educators say they're suffering and there should be more mental health professionals on site to help students. Teachers also say they're tired of covering large class sizes. They need more teachers at school to ensure students are learning everything they need to be successful.
I have never been more proud to call myself a teacher because of all that you are doing. Together, we are going to change what's happening for our students in this country together. We're going to make sure that our teachers have what they need and they deserve together. We are going to make sure that our public education system in this country is seen as the foundation of our democracy, as what it was meant to be, a common good for every single student to have that high quality education so they can become the leaders of a just society.
In President Biden's proclamation on National Teacher Appreciation Week, he said, "In schools across America, teachers are arriving early to set up classrooms, spending long hours educating students, and staying late to prepare tomorrow's lesson plans. Their devotion to our children embodies the best of America, ready to serve and eager to see others thrive." According to the Indiana Department of Education, there is a teacher shortage in math, science, and language arts, grades 5 through 12, and special education teachers from preschool to high school. Substitute teachers are also in demand. Indiana requires subs to be 18, hold a high school diploma, and meet the requirements of the school employer. Tonight, 100 Days to Indy covers the race at Long Beach. Episode 3 of the behind-the-scenes docuseries at 9 here on Wish TV. The show charts the build-up to the 500. For the fans, that'll include a walkthrough of some of the new equipment. The Speedway has 56 new metal detectors. They're called Open Gate. The system includes 2 freestanding pillars and zeroes in on weapons. They say authorities can manage the metal detectors with an app. IMS President Doug Bowles says the system will let people move through security without emptying their pockets.
This open gate system that we have, we're excited to try because we think it's going to allow our customers to walk through, us not have to open up a cooler. We'll be able to know what's in those coolers and make sure that we continue to keep people safe.
Bowles says the track will begin using the system this week. And tonight, Colts fans find out the full schedule for the season ahead. The one we know so far, an international matchup for Week 10 against the Patriots in Frankfurt, Germany. That game kicks off at 9:30. The NFL is set to release the entire regular season schedule for all 32 teams at 8 o'clock tonight. A double countdown for race fans, 17 days away from the Indy 500, but just 2 until the Grand Prix. A great local athlete will be the Grand Marshal for Saturday's race, Drew Kibler. He's the Carmel-born swimmer who's now a world record holder and Olympian. He'll give the drivers the command to start their engines. And today, come for a drink, go home with a pet. Tails and Ales returns to Broad Ripple tonight. Pet Friendly Services of Indiana will provide free spay and neuter vouchers for 6 local animal rescues. There will also be kittens and dogs there who need a good home. The event starts at 5:30 at Broad Ripple Brew Pub. And birth control could soon be available over the counter. An FDA advisory panel unanimously voted yesterday in favor of selling the drug Opill without a prescription. The panel agreed that the birth control pill could be safely taken without help from healthcare workers. The agency is set to make a decision on whether to approve the medication this summer. The company that makes the drug says if approved, sales could begin late this year. California Senator Dianne Feinstein has returned to the Senate after a 2.5-month absence. She told reporters she's feeling much better. The 89-year-old senator has been absent from Capitol Hill since February when she was hospitalized for a case of shingles. Lawmakers on both sides have called for her resignation due to her absence. To business headlines, it is day 2 for a read on inflation. Today is the Producer Price Index. That's a measure of what businesses pay for raw materials, things like fuel, labor, and medical care. Often rising costs for businesses get passed on to consumers in a few months. Yesterday, an inflation measure of what consumers pay was lower than expected. Southwest Airlines union leaders warn of a long summer. A Southwest Airlines company executive expressed optimism about the carrier's chances of reaching labor deals with its pilots and flight attendants by the end of the year, but union leaders are less optimistic as the summer travel season approaches. Disney is losing billions on its streaming service, so it's undergoing a rethink. CEO Bob Iger says it will be combining Disney Plus and Hulu into one platform, including programming from both by the end of the year. It'll also raise the price of its ad-free plan, which currently costs $10.99 a month. Topgolf stock sinks most since 2020 on concern the golf boom is fading. Callaway owner cuts the profit view. Golf was popular during the pandemic as people were looking for exercise outside that had natural social distancing. And a new dating app uses artificial intelligence to create chatbots that mimic users' interests and personalities, a feature meant to reduce ghosting by handling the initial meet and greet part of the dating process. Users initially can engage with a chatbot that gives you a feel for your match before actually speaking to them, according to Teaser AI, whose app is slated to hit Apple's App Store later this month. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com, and like us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand for even more on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.